Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Ledger. I'm Cage. I'm solo today. This week, Chair, he had a job interview this week, so he's been a bit busy, which is cool. Good luck, sir. Good luck to you. And yeah, I listen. There are some things happening in the nerd sphere, and so I thought I better talk about it because last week we talked about the potential for this small company known as Paramount potentially purchasing this other small company known as Warner Brothers. And we stopped we stopped podcasting, we were done, blah blah blah. Later on, okay, guess what, guys? Netflix is buying Warner Brothers. So that was interesting. So there's obviously a bunch of details on it. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. And also I want to talk about Paramount's response to that. Because shit is getting a little interesting, you just gotta go grab your popcorn and sit back and enjoy this shit. Cause it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. On top of that, today, the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow trailer dropped, so we can talk a little bit about that. And then as I record this right now, the Game Awards is happening, and I'm not a gamer, I'm terrible at games. I do enjoy playing some games at times. I try to stay educated about games, but that's going on right now, and one of the things that was announced is this single-player RPG Star Wars game called Fate of the Old Republic, or something like that. Yeah, let me get exactly what it's called, so I don't sound like a complete moron, because sometimes I do that. Yeah, it's called Fate of the Old Republic. Man, I'm so smart. And there's a trailer for it, but it's like, it's the thing with the other like old Star Wars games, like the Old Republic games and stuff. The cinematics were insane, and this trailer is also a cinematic. Nothing's in engine, so it's hard to see what the game is actually like, what the graphics look like, how it plays, and all that stuff. It's just a cinematic out right now, so if you're interested, you can go check out that cinematic. There's also some news, you can call it. It's not really news. There's kind of rumors that Aragorn is going to be recast in The Hunt for Gollum, and that shouldn't really be too shocking. I know initially they talked about Viggo Mortensen reprising his role and things of that nature. I mean, there's already going to be remakes of The Lord of the Rings. I believe that's going to be a TV series when it was last announced. Again, this is Warner Brothers, so a lot of this could change in the future, right? But yeah, I'm not too shocked at that. There was some quotes from Viggo Mortensen that some people didn't fully go into, because essentially Viggo Mortensen said something to the effect of he'd rather pass on the torch and let someone else do it. But that was in the context of him clarifying that, like, if he would want to do it if it felt right, like if it had the right script and everything else. Sorry, it's irritating me that this is not centered, and I know most people probably are just listening and not watching, but I'm gonna try my best to get it kind of centered. That's kind of close, kind of close. There we go. Something like that. Ooh, pretty good. Okay. Anyway, sorry. So yeah, there's that. That's out there. Supergirl trailer. So it's an okay trailer. I mean, I'm not a big trailer guy. Like, there's always little things you can find in the trailers and be like, yeah, and really, like, if you're so like what a lot of us do in this nerd world, right, is you watch the trailer and you kind of go, oh, that looks like this could mean this based on your knowledge of comic books, which is almost most of the time wrong, because these are adaptations. They're going to take some liberties. They're going to do things that they want, this, that, and the other, right? Fine. But the the thing with this trailer is this is Woman of Tomorrow, right? Like the miniseries that exists, and it's not too different, to be honest. Like if you've never read Woman of Tomorrow, you'll probably go, oh, who's that guy? Who's that guy? Who's the villain? Who's this little girl? Who's this, right? And a lot of the, whatever you'd call them, like normies or whatever, but people who don't read comics but like comic book movies, are just going to be excited to see A, Supergirl, and B, Jason Momoa's Lobo, which gets a very like brief, like less than 1 second snippet in the trailer. But really, if you want to know what the movie is largely going to be about, just read Woman of Tomorrow. And it probably will still make a bunch of changes to that story, because if it's just a literal straight copy of it onto a movie screen, people might say that's what they want, but most people don't actually want that. So, yeah, excuse me. My throat is getting a little dry. I'm going to have me a swig here of this Powerade. Tasty. Okay. So, let's get into this Netflix deal. So, Netflix has been announced as the buyer for Warner Brothers. They're buying Warner Brothers and HBO Max. Now, Warner Brothers merged with Discovery years ago. They've divested Discovery, which means, more or less, they still own it, but it's operated by another entity entirely. I'm pretty sure I have that correct. We'll get there. So, Netflix is going to buy Warner Brothers and HBO Max for $82.7 billion. This acquisition is expected to close following Warner Brothers Discovery spinoff, Discovery Global TV Networks division in Q3 of next year. So, I'll read the article as best I can to try to make it interesting, because a lot of this reading stuff isn't that interesting. But I'll read you what's in the article, right? So it's official. In a move that will dramatically reshape the entertainment business, Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery announced an agreement last Friday under which Netflix will acquire Warner Brothers, including its film and TV studios, its gaming business, HBO Max, and HBO. The deal has a total enterprise value, including debt, of approximately $82.7 billion, with an equity value of $72 billion, the company has said. Both companies said that. The announcement of Netflix's deal to buy the Warner Brothers streaming and studios business came after a weeks-long bidding war that pitted the streaming giant against David Ellison's Paramount, Skydance, and Comcast. News broke last Thursday that Netflix had entered into exclusive negotiations with Warner Brothers Discovery on a deal for Warner Brothers and HBO Max. Now, Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos had a call on, last week with analysts and said, "I know some of you are surprised we are making this acquisition." He also noted the company historically has been more builders than buyers. Netflix said it expects to, quote, "to maintain Warner Brothers' current operation and build on its strengths," end quote, including theatrical releases for films. Currently, Warner Brothers has deals to release its film in cinemas through 2029. In the near term, Netflix signaled it would keep HBO Max as a discrete service, while it also touted the addition of HBO and HBO Max content to its lineup. Okay, let's go through the weeds of this a little bit. Netflix has historically reserved its releases for its platform, right? Netflix doesn't really release things in theaters. Sometimes it does, never exclusively. A lot of times it'll be a tiny short theater run if it's done, and it'll be either right before or alongside the release on Netflix. So this would signal a change, but it's it's not a surprising change in the way that, right, as the article states, Warner Brothers already has deals with theaters to release movies in theaters through 2029. In addition, Netflix isn't only buying Warner Brothers digital assets, intellectual property, etc. It's buying its actual real assets, including movie studios and everything else. And so you can do a lot more with that than what they can currently do. And as a result, it's not entirely surprising that Netflix would then start releasing at least Warner Brothers properties in theaters. You can harken back to when Disney bought 20th Century Fox, and a lot of people were concerned about the way that they would handle those acquisitions, right? And really, even today, they are operated kind of independently in the way, you think of the Alien and Predator movies. When Alien, whatever the new one is, Romulus came out a couple years ago, Predator Badlands came out this year, Prey came out on Netflix. They weren't released under this Disney heading banner, just like Marvel films aren't released with this Disney heading banner. There are different operations and studios all under like Disney is the owner, right? But you have different enterprises that are all kind of owned and operated. Well, not owned, but they are operated separately, right? It's the same thing as, massive chains that like own a whole bunch of other things, right? And you see this right now a lot in corporate branding worlds, right? Where it was just announced. Well, it was announced last year, I believe, and finalized. Like it's starting to be finalized that Mars. Mars has chocolate bars. Mars, the big company, they own a whole bunch of things. They're buying Kellanova, which is, oh Jesus, this is way in the weeds. Sorry if you guys are bored by this, but Kellanova is a subdivision, kinda, not really. So Kellogg's, right? Everybody knows Kellogg's cereal. They have Pop-Tarts. They have all these other things, Cheez-It and Pringles, and all that is owned previously by Kellogg's. Kellogg's split, kind of like this, same company, but two different operations. One called WK Kellogg and one called Kellanova. Kellanova is the Cheez-Its, the Pringles, I think Pop-Tarts is in there too. WK Kellogg was only the cereals. And so they did that because I think they knew one day they're going to sell off one of those branches. So you divest like that, just like Warner Brothers divested Discovery before they sold, right? And so Mars is buying Kellanova, but they're not going to just change it all. They're not going to change Pringles and put Mars all over it and all this stuff. And just like when Kellogg's separated and you had Kellanova, none of those said Kellanova. They still said Kellogg's, right? Like, because that's you don't want to scare away that customer or whatever. So my impression is that Netflix will probably do something similar, right? Something that like what Disney's doing. They'll have these studios operate independently in a way, but still, with the overall strategy from the owner, right? Like Netflix is going to be the ones who decide the big business decisions, how things are done, how budgets are determined, all of that stuff for Warner Brothers. But as a studio, it will still operate, independently. It's not like, well, we own Warner Brothers, so now Netflix as the company is going to decide everything that happens with Warner Brothers, and they're going to be the ones who release the content. It's going to be Netflix's content. We don't care about the Warner Brothers name anymore. It's going to be Netflix's content. And as a result, bam, you're going to get Lord of the Rings this and Harry Potter this and this, blah, blah, all under the Netflix banner, right? It's not necessarily true. But like I was saying earlier, we know that Warner Brothers announced a Lord of the Rings reboot. Who knows if that's going to happen now? The Hunt for Gollum is still happening, obviously. But Netflix, this is what's interesting about this. Netflix is already doing a Harry Potter TV show reboot. I'm pretty sure it was Netflix. Am I getting this wrong? I thought it was Netflix that was doing it. It could have been an HBO Max thing the whole time, but I swear it was Netflix, which would suggest that it was licensed out to them. So there might be some backroom trading kind of stuff. I'm going to find out the truth of this real quick because I might have just spouted misinformation. But I swear I read it was Netflix. No. I literally typed HBO reboot. Jesus Christ. It would be HBO thing, so not a Netflix thing. So ignore everything I said just now. But Netflix will be operating HBO Max still as an independent thing for a while. Not to say they won't do what Hulu did, right? Where if you have Disney Plus and you have Hulu and you go to either one of those, you can see the shows and movies from each one on the other platform, right? It's kind of, they make them available, but you still need the subscription to get them. All right. So let's continue with the article. Okay. So we finished that. HBO, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this is what Netflix said. This is okay. It says the company said this. I don't know what the company sounds like. I only know that other snooty voice I was doing, but I'll do a new voice for the company, okay? By adding the deep film and TV libraries and HBO and HBO Max programming, Netflix members will have even more high-quality titles from which to choose. This also allows Netflix to optimize its plans for consumers, enhancing viewing options and expanding access to content. Netflix said that it expects to see $2 to $3 billion in cost savings annually by the third year after the Warner Brothers deal closes. The company expects the transaction to be accretive to earnings per share by year 2. That's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. I just laugh at the word accretive because it's a kind of an inside joke we have about some shit that happens at work. The cash and stock transaction is valued at $27.75 per share. That's $27.75 per share of Warner Brothers Discovery. The deal is expected to close in the next 12 to 18 months, the company said, after the previously announced separation of Warner Brothers Discovery's TV networks division, Discovery Global, into a new publicly traded company, which is now expected to be completed in the third quarter of 2026. So, just to say that in simpler terms, this acquisition, should it happen, will not be fully completed until Q3 of 2026, which is, do the math, here we go, July to October. Something like that. Anyway, it depends. I mean, fiscal quarters pretty well outlined, right? But not everybody uses a fiscal calendar, or their fiscal year is a little different. So, anyway, so the deal has a total enterprise value, including debt, of approximately $82.7 billion, with an equity value of $72 billion, the company said. The announcement of Netflix's deal to buy the Warner Brothers streaming and studios business came after a weeks-long, but oh my God, I read all that already. You see what happens? Guys? I start trying to explain something, and this whole fucking thing just goes back to the top. So, anyway, under the terms of the agreement, each Warner Brothers Discovery shareholder will receive $23.25 in cash and $4.50 in shares of Netflix's common stock for each share of Warner Brothers Discovery common stock outstanding at the closing of the transaction. That, I guess I have to explain some of this a little bit for people who maybe are unclear what that means, just because it's going to matter when I start talking about Paramount's response to this. Essentially is what happens is Warner Brothers Discovery is being purchased, and it's a publicly traded company, which means they have stocks out there, and so people own those stocks. And so when the company sells, you have to pay out your shareholders. They are entitled to that money based on their stocks. So Netflix is saying, well, if me personally say I own 100 shares in Warner Brothers and Netflix is buying them, they're going to give me $23.25 per share that I own, right? Which should come out to $232.50 for my 100 shares. Plus, they're going to give me $4.50 for each share in Netflix's stock. So, they're going to give me 400. Did I do math wrong? They're going to give me $2,325 for my 100 stocks, and they're going to give me $450 in Netflix stocks. So I'm going to get $2,000 essentially in cash, and $450 in Netflix shares. And that's how that works. So the transaction was unanimously approved by the board of directors of both Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery. The deal is contingent on the completion of the spinoff of Discovery Global, as well as regulatory approvals, the approval of the deal by Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders, and other customary closing conditions, which also means that the shareholders have to say this is fair or it's not fair, right? Anyway, according to the company's quote, "This acquisition brings together two pioneering entertainment businesses, combining Netflix's innovation, global reach, and best-in-class streaming service with Warner Brothers' century-long legacy of world-class storytelling. Beloved franchises, shows, and movies such as The Big Bang Theory, The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, The Wizard of Oz, and the DC Universe will join Netflix's extensive portfolio, including Wednesday, Money Heist, Bridgerton, Adolescence, and Extraction, creating an extraordinary entertainment offering for audiences worldwide. Netflix also will pick up the Warner Brothers Games division as part of the deal." The deal announcement did not say what role, if any, David Zaslav, current president and CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, will have as a result upon the completion of the deal. Zaslav was set to become CEO of the standalone Warner Brothers entity. Netflix faces a potential hurdle in clearing the Warner Brothers deal over antitrust issues, a point that Ellison's Paramount Skydance emphasized in its communication with the Warner Brothers Discovery Board in its last bid. Representative Darrell Issa, who's a Republican from California, raised that concern in a November 13th letter to Trump administration officials, writing, "With more than 300 million global subscribers and a vast content library, Netflix currently wields unequaled power in the market. Under the agreement, Netflix will pay Warner Brothers Discovery a breakup fee of $5.8 billion if the deal fails to close, under certain circumstances relating to the failure to obtain approvals, or if U.S. or international regulatory bodies block the transaction," the streamer disclosed in an SEC filing. Sarandos, the co-CEO of Netflix, I believe, also said, "We've signed..." Jesus, his voice was British, wasn't it? "We've signed a deal." Why am I doing a southern drawl? I don't remember what I did for his voice, and now there's no continuity to the story, and that's really unfortunate. "We've signed a deal, and we are running full speed toward regulatory approval." Hollywood industry groups, including the Directors Guild of America and theater chain trade group Cinema United, have also come out in expressing fears that Netflix's takeover of Warner Brothers will harm the movie theater business. Netflix, in its announcement, asserted that the deal will result in, quote, "a stronger entertainment industry," per the company. They said, "This acquisition will enhance Netflix's studio capabilities, allowing the company to significantly expand U.S. production capacity and continue to grow investment in original content over the long term, which will create jobs and strengthen the entertainment industry." The streamer also claimed that a combined Netflix Warner Brothers will provide more opportunities for the creative community, saying in a statement, "By uniting Netflix's member experience and global reach with Warner Brothers' renowned franchises and extensive library, The company will create greater value for talent, offering more opportunities to work with beloved intellectual property, tell new stories, and connect with a wider audience than ever. Sarando said, "Our mission has always been to entertain the world by combining Warner Brothers' incredible library of shows and movies, from timeless classics like Casablanca and Citizen Kane to modern favorites like Harry Potter and Friends, with our culture-defining titles like Stranger Things, K-pop Demon Hunters, and Squid Game. We'll be able to do that even better. Together, we can give audiences more of what they love to help define the next century of storytelling." By the way, I'm pretty sure this guy's not even British. I just need to have a continuity voice, you know what I'm saying? Greg Peters, co-CEO of Netflix, added, "Warner Brothers has helped define entertainment for more than a century and continues to do so with phenomenal creative executives and production capabilities. With our global reach and proven business model, we can introduce a broader audience to the worlds they create, giving our members more options, attracting more fans to our best-in-class streaming service, strengthening the entire entertainment industry, and creating more value for shareholders." WB's Zaslav said in a statement, "Today's announcement combines two of the greatest storytelling companies in the world to bring to even more people the entertainment they love to watch the most. For more than a century, Warner Brothers has thrilled audiences, captured the world's attention, and shaped our culture. By coming together with Netflix, we will ensure people everywhere will continue to enjoy the world's most resonant stories for generations to come." In June 2025, Warner Brothers Discovery announced plans to separate its streaming and studio businesses under the Warner Brothers banners and its TV networks group as Discovery Global into two separate publicly traded companies. This separation is now expected to be completed again in the third quarter of 2026, prior to the closing of the Netflix transaction. The newly separated Discovery Global, headed by current Warner Brothers Discovery CFO Gunnar Weidenfels, will comprise properties including CNN, TBS, HGTV, Food Network and Discovery Channel, TNT Sports in the US, free-to-air channels in Europe, and digital products including Discovery Plus and Bleacher Report. In an ironic twist in Netflix's deal for Warner Brothers, the announcement came almost exactly 15 years after then Time Warner chief Jeff Books derided Netflix in an interview with the New York Times as akin to, quote, the Albanian army. Casting doubt on Netflix's growing clout in the industry at the time, Bukes said, it's a little bit like, is the Albanian army going to take over the world? For Netflix, Moelis and Co. I don't care. Nobody cares about the financial advisors. Anyway, so that is the story. Netflix is set to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery for $82.7 billion. Now, again, to the bidding war. David Ellison of Paramount, he had some things to say. And they weren't great things. You know, he wasn't out there saying, this is great. You know, we're so happy for Netflix and their acquisition. You know, we fought hard, but we just couldn't get there in the end. That's not what he said. He said he courted Warner Brothers Discovery's David Zaslav hard over 12 weeks to try to win the deal, and then was ghosted. This guy said, I was trying so hard. I was doing so much for my mans over there at Warner Brothers, and then he left me on red. So David Ellison fought hard. Despite his strenuous efforts, he lost out to Netflix, and now he is switching from carrots to sticks. Paramount Skydance is taking its case directly to shareholders in a hostile takeover bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. So remember, a couple minutes ago, I was kind of like saying I have to explain how it works with what shareholders are going to get from Netflix. because now it matters. Because this guy, David Ellison, he's tired of fighting with Zaslav. He's not making deals with Warner Brothers anymore. Now he's going to the shareholders. He's going to say to those shareholders, mother suckers, you can accept this bullshit from the guys that are running the company that you have money invested in. You own part of this company as shareholders. Now, you're going to let those guys say your shares are worth $27.75 and accept that while only getting $23.25 per share in cash and the rest in Netflix stocks. You're going to accept that? Well, guess what? I'm going to give you more, a lot more. And you're going to tell David Zaslav's bitch ass that you want me to buy you because I'm giving you more money and a better deal. I'll read the article. New details disclosed in a Paramount SEC filing reveal the lengths Ellison went to try to clinch a pact with David Zaslav, president and CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery. Ellison courted Zaslav as hard as he could. He hosted him at a dinner with his father, Larry Ellison. David Ellison met with Zaslav at the latter's home in Beverly Hills to discuss a potential deal, and Larry Ellison met over a video conference with Zaslav and John Malone, chairman emeritus of Warner Brothers and a major shareholder, to, quote, discuss Paramount's interest in a combination with Warner Brothers per the filing. Now, David Ellison and his teams at Paramount Skydance, together with their outside legal and financial advisory firms, worked over Thanksgiving to put together a more compelling offer to buy all of Warner Brothers Discovery, ultimately extending an all-cash offer of $30 a share with an equity value of $77.9 billion. Ellison even offered Zaslav a co-CEO and co-chairman role in a combined Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery. Again, going back to my example, Netflix is buying, right? And they're saying, we're going to give you $4.50 per share in Netflix, right? So, okay, say I have $450 plus $2,300 in cash, totaling $2,700-ish, right? Round it up to $2,800 for my 100 shares. Well, David's saying, I'm going to give you $30 per share, which then is $3,000, which is more, and that's all in cash. I'm going to give you a better deal. That's what he is saying. David Ellison said, hold on, I have to find my voice. How would David Ellison talk? He's another CEO. He's probably American. He's probably not from the South. I like to do a little Southern drawl here and there, you know. Maybe he's from Texas. I don't know. Let's say he's from Texas. Or we could say he's from New York or Boston. I'm not good at either of those accents, so I'm just going to say he's from Texas. It would be the honor of a lifetime to be your partner and to be the owner of these iconic assets. Ellison had texted Zaslav that on December 4th, according to Paramount. But the board of Warner Bros. Discovery rejected every proposal that David Ellison put forward, and on Friday, December 5th, the company announced its deal with Netflix to sell Warner Bros. Studios and HBO Max in a deal with an equity value of $72 billion. There's a quote here. There's a quote. I don't know who says this quote. Hold on. I got to find who says it. No, I don't. Here's the quote. Quote, Paramount made 6 proposals over 12 weeks to Warner Brothers board, end quote, culminating in the all-cash offer of $30 per share on December 4th, according to the filing, which outlines the parameters of its Warner Brothers Discovery takeover efforts in the background to the negotiations. The final proposal stated Paramount was ready to immediately sign the transaction, accompanied by fully executable agreements with fully committed debt financing and fully committed equity financing from the Ellison family. Despite these facts, the Warner Brothers board and its advisors chose on that pivotal December 4th to make no effort to even speak with Paramount or its representatives about anything. Instead, the Warner Brothers board, in possession of the $30 per share cash offer with a clearer and faster path to regulatory approval, committed Warner Brothers and its stockholders to an obviously financially inferior transaction. the Netflix agreement with extraordinary regulatory risk and longer timeline to a possible closing. So, again, what they're saying is they're going with those guys, even though they offered less money, which doesn't make sense. And also, Paramount, as a company, is not as big as Netflix. Netflix owns a lot. And because of that, it's much harder to get through antitrust laws, which say Netflix is trying to monopolize the streaming space by buying Warner Brothers and HBO Max, because of those are massive properties that they're buying, and they're already a massive company with a huge market share. Paramount has a smaller market share, less assets currently, you would argue, and so it might be easier for them to get the acquisition to go through all the antitrust filings and everything else. That is their current argument in there. Again, my throat's getting a little dry. I need another swig of my Powerade. Tasty. I don't know why I keep saying that. Powerade, Coca-Cola, you should sponsor this shit, okay? I buy Powerade a lot because I think it tastes better than Gatorade. I used to like Gatorade, okay? I still drink Gatorade every now and then. I think Powerade's zero sugar, their zero sugar line it's tastier, okay? I like the fruit punch. I like the blue one. I like the grape one. I like they have like a strawberry kind of flavored one. It's a pink one, and they're all pretty tasty. The orange one is there's some other ones that I'm sure are pretty but I don't know, I like them, so I buy them a lot, and it helps me stay hydrated, especially before I go to the tattoo shop and after I go to the gym. So if you want to sponsor for like the four viewers that we might get you like an extra $100 a year, okay, in sales, whatever that's worth to you, okay? You know, hey, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, David Ellison, who felt that the Warner Brothers Discovery Board hadn't treated him fairly, wasn't done fighting to get his hands on the prize. On Monday of this week, Paramount Skydance announced its intention to stage a hostile takeover bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. He said, "I'll tell you what." He didn't say that. He said, "We're taking our offer directly to shareholders because they deserve transparency and the ability to make an informed decision. Our proposal is superior to Netflix's in every dimension. Higher headline value, increased certainty in that value, greater regulatory certainty, and a pro-Hollywood, pro-consumer, and pro-competition future. We're confident that once shareholders have the opportunity to choose for themselves, they'll choose Paramount." On December 4th, following Paramount's submission of a $30 a share offer to the Warner Brothers Discovery Board, Ellison sent the following text to David Zaslav. "Just tried calling you about new bid we have submitted. I heard you on all your concerns and believe we have addressed them in our new proposal. Please give me a call back when you can to discuss in detail." At approximately 4 p.m. Eastern on December 4th, having heard nothing all day per Paramount, per the filing, Ellison sent the following text to Zaslav. "David, I appreciate you're underwater today, so I wanted to send a quick text. Please note when you next meet as a board, we wanted to offer you a package that addressed all the issues you discussed with me. Those were: 1, we wanted to offer complete certainty; 2, strong cash value; 3, a speed to close. Please note, importantly, we did not include best and final in our bid. Also, please know, despite..." My accent just went British for no reason. "Also, please know, despite the noise of the last 24 hours, I have nothing but respect and admiration for the company and you. It would be the honor of a lifetime to be your partner and to be the owner of these iconic assets. I went really British now. If we have the privilege to work together, you will see that my father and I are the people you had dinner with. We are always loyal and honorable to our partners, and hope we have the opportunity to prove that to you. Best, David. So neither David Zaslav nor any representative of Warner Brothers Discovery responded, according to Paramount. At approximately 11 p.m. Eastern on December 4th, news outlets, including Variety, began reporting that Warner Brothers had entered into an exclusivity agreement with Netflix. As revealed in Paramount's SEC filing, Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount spent a lot of time fighting over the terms of a confidentiality agreement that would require, quote, no contact with the Warner Brothers board or any other person at Warner Brothers other than Mr. Zaslav, a requirement to seek permission before Paramount could engage with any debt or equity financing sources, and a broad waiver of claims and challenges against Warner Brothers and its representatives relating to Warner Brothers' sales process. Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount also tussled over foreign financing, reflecting Warner Brothers Discovery's desire to steer the deal away from review by a Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, the U.S. government's interagency body that reviews foreign investments in U.S. businesses, investigates. Let me say that again. This body reviews foreign investments in U.S. businesses' potential national security risks. Jesus. Reading a lot, it takes a lot of throat effort, you know? Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I need to learn how to speak better. Use my throat less. Use my diaphragm more. I don't know. I can't sing, guys. I cannot sing, so I don't use my diaphragm enough. Maybe if I use my... No. It's making it worse. Anyway, a bunch of Middle Eastern people wanted to do it. They didn't want it because of this shit. Before Skydance Paramount, before their deal was reached in mid-2024, Warner Brothers Discovery and Shari Redstone's Paramount Global talked about combinations in 2023 and 2024. This was previously reported. Zaslav had met with Paramount's then CEO, Bob Bakish, to explore a deal, blah, blah, blah. They've been looking for a deal for a long time. Paramount's SEC filing provided an extensive chronology of events documenting Ellison's journey to try and land the Warner Brothers deal. Yeah. So, anyway, my brother, David Ellison, said, we tried, guys. We tried. And guess what? Your boy... He says, hey, stakeholders of Warner Brothers, hey, all you guys who own part of that company, listen up. We tried our best. We went to your boy, David Zaslav. We said, hey, brother, let's do some shit. Come have dinner with my pops. We're going to enjoy it. Okay, we had dinner. Now what? Now, we're going to make you an offer. Okay, this offer doesn't meet the things you wanted. Blah, 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 blee, blue, blue. All right, well, guess what? I got a proposal for you, $30 a share. We're going to get past regulation. We're going to get this shit done. It's going to be quick. It's going to be easy. We got nothing to worry about, right? David, my boy Zaslav, Mr. Z, Mr. ZZ, Mr. Zaslav, okay? Listen up, brother. Here's the offer. Bam. He ain't texting me back. Huh. I texted him. He ain't texting me back. What the fuck's going on, Mr. Z? Sir Z? Mr. Zintin? What the fuck, bruh? So, I'm gonna text him again. Hey, bitch. Why ain't you responding to my text messages and telling me what the fuck's going on? We got the best deal you could ever ask for. Alright, I sent the text message. Let me hop online. Holy fuck. Netflix is buying... 72 billion valuation, 87.2 total. That's, bro, they giving you $27 per share, not even all in cash. Hold up. Hey, yo, stakeholders, listen up. Hey, listen up. You're going to accept this bullshit when I'm trying to give you more money? Listen, I get it. 100 shares is not much difference, cash value between 2,300 and 3,000, especially when you're getting $450 in Netflix shares. But let me put it this way. You got 1,000 shares. Brother, that's $30,000 versus $23,000. That's a big fucking difference. All right, hear me out. This guy got 10,000 shares. This guy over here with 10,000 shares, what do you think he wanted? He's wanted his fucking $300,000 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Brother, that's a lot of fucking money. You're going to take the worst deal? Nah. You all shareholders got the power here. You own the company if you all come together and say, hey, yo, we own the majority more than your bitch ass, okay? We want Paramount. So who knows? Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't happen. But the reality is Paramount wants it, and they're fighting, and they're ready to fight dirty to get it. Netflix, who knows, right? This is the end question, right? And the question that the SEC and the antitrust laws and everything that's gonna, all this stuff that's gonna have to get sorted out, right? The ultimate question is, what is the impact, right? If Netflix is allowed to buy Warner Brothers, what is the impact? And the answer is, we don't really know, but we can kind of guess. Who are your big players in the streaming space? Really, it's Netflix, Disney, Hulu, which is also Disney. HBO Max is a pretty big one. I mean, they're charging a lot of money. Maybe Amazon Prime, but they're not huge. And you got smaller ones. You got Peacock, you got Paramount Plus, right? You what is that? Seven minus maybe one, about maybe 6, right? So you got, but there's a bunch of smaller ones too. So these are the players in the streaming game. And if Netflix buys HBO Max and Warner Brothers, then you say what? You got 5? You got 5, right? You got Netflix, you got Disney/Hulu, you got Paramount, you got Peacock, you got Prime. Again, Peacock, Paramount, Prime are all pretty small. You got 2 major players. You got Hulu and you got Netflix at that point. Disney and Netflix. Disney owns Hulu, most of it. So the argument then is, well, essentially you got those 2 options and you're going to probably do them both. And there's no real competition. So they can just charge you whatever the fuck they want, right? When you have competition and people have options, I mean, it's very basic economics, right? The more options there are, the lower the value is, and the more supply there is. Like, if you could watch Netflix shows on Hulu, right, without having a Netflix account because they made them available, well, then there's no reason to have both, right? You have to have one or the other. Like, this whole thing. You have 2 major streaming services with all the buying power and all the ability to get every license that they want. They'll put everyone else out of business and they'll charge whatever the fuck they want. And at the end of the day, the consumer maybe wins because they have a bunch of stuff, but they also lose because they can't afford it, right? These are the arguments that are going to be had. This is kind of expectations that you're going to see. Who knows? Like, who knows what'll actually happen? The argument Paramount is making is, well, we'll grow if we buy Warner Brothers, but Netflix and Disney will still be doing their thing, and that, maybe Peacock struggles a little bit, maybe they get bought too. Amazon is Amazon. They're not going anywhere. They're not the biggest, but they are big, right? They put a lot of money into their what do you call it? Yeah, original content. That's the word. And their studio production, right? And they have big IPs as well, or growing IPs, right? I mean, they have the Rings of Power, which whether people like it or not, is massive. It's a Lord of the Rings property. Lord of the Rings is the most read novel of the 20th century. 21st century, 20th century, I don't fucking know. 20th century. There you go. You have The Boys, which is a massive intellectual property now. I think there's other ones. I don't know all of them. But, they're doing their thing. They're not huge, but like nobody's going to say, oh, Amazon Prime's streaming content library is on the level of Netflix or Hulu or anything else, right? Even Hulu, like Hulu is a good hub for a bunch of different things. They have some original content, but not a whole bunch. So, and their original content's not bad either. I mean, the like Prey is good. The Predator Killers thing was good. I haven't watched the Alien Earth thing yet. But they have a whole bunch of other stuff too on Hulu. But everyone's trying to win with their original content. The other question surrounding all of this is, what is the future of streaming, right? And Disney thinks it's dead. Disney's putting less and less money into their budgets for their streaming. They've really cut back on Marvel and Star Wars content through the streaming platform. I think there's going to be a big push in the industry in the next 5 to 10 years to really get theatrical releases back on the table. That's going to be difficult because tickets are very fucking expensive now. Like, it's crazy. I was looking at going to go see Lord of the Rings on the re-release, and at the Regal I go to, it's like $16.50 plus a $2 service fee. It's like almost $20 per movie to go see, which is crazy. Like, because like you think it used to be fucking nothing, like not nothing, but like for a long time it was like $10. And I get it, theaters are struggling and they're using these re-releases to make money, but like it's a re-release, like people can watch it literally at home for cheaper, right? Like easy, like, and I get it, it's not on the big screen, but it's available already. It's been out for years, right? And like it's tough to justify that, especially in an economy like the one we're in now. So what does that look like? What does any of this look like? And essentially what the reality right now is, streaming is cable. What cable used to be. Cable was just like a one-stop shop for all these different networks, and now you just, it's all these streaming services that you pay for the same price or more than cable, to watch the things you want. Now, the good thing is you can pay for no ads, but I think that does hurt a lot of these streaming services, because ads are, that's what funded everything years ago, right? Like the ability to sell ad space and have good metrics about the numbers in your audience and everything else, like that's where all the money came from. And companies know that advertising works, so they put money into it. And I don't know that there's that return there anymore. And how you, and especially because you're saying, okay, well, 100,000 people watch this thing, per week or whatever, right? If we're releasing episodes weekly, 100,000 people, that's your exposure, this, that, or the other, right? And you pay for that advertising space. Well, the reality is half or more of those people are never seeing an advertisement because they pay for no ads. So, it's harder to sell the ad space, I'd imagine. And again, I could be completely off base. This is just a lot of this is presumption, as far as how negotiations go now. But I know in the past, that's where the money came from, was the ads, right? Like that's how you get the money to form your budgets and to make your shows and to keep going, and then networks and all this stuff. So that's the reality of it. And I don't know what the future is, but there, based on business decisions that Disney's making, they believe that streaming is either slowing or going away, or maybe not going away, but doesn't have the impact that it needs to have to justify the cost of the shows that they're putting out. So who knows what the future holds? It's ever changing. People thought during COVID that, COVID forced a lot of industries to catch up, and others to get ahead. You know, a lot of industries that might have been gone, a lot of industries that people weren't paying for before. I mean, all the food delivery stuff really grew technologically advanced, gained technological advancements through COVID, as well as like Instacart, eCart, all that stuff like grew massively. And you know, Walmart's online platform, their e-com platform, like that's where all the growth is coming from now. And they were set up for it because of all the investments they made during COVID to try to get those things working. And streaming did that as well. It had a bunch of advancements to the point that people thought movie theaters didn't need to exist. You could just same day release on your streaming platform and pay a premium that people can pay a premium to watch it online and not have to go to the movie theater, right? $30 or whatever. Which now, hey, if I'm buying 2 movie tickets for me and my friends, and then we got to buy popcorn and drinks and all, it's like $100. I could just pay $30 to watch it at home, you know? And people thought that would kill movie theaters. And you know, obviously movie theaters were hurting. But it sounds like that there might be some kind of resurgence, and people want there to be a lot of, you know, you see these trends, ups and downs in with movie theaters and in movies that, you know, a lot of people are not going to go see, but then you have movies that come out and have massive openings, and it's like, well, what dictates that? Is it, you know, this, I don't know. Those are things I think about. But anyway, what do you guys think of this whole Warner Brothers thing? What do you think would happen if Netflix bought them? I mean, the big thing for what we talk about is what's going to be the impact on DC, right? James Gunn is leading that effort now, and, you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the works that I'm sure would be, you know, continue to be in the works. But what's the reality? What is that? Do they take control of it? Does James Gunn's vision and his lead on DC Studios, does that continue? And does DC operate or separate or run independently? Do they sell off assets? Who knows? None of us know. Hands up, don't know. But it'll be interesting to find out kind of what goes on. Anyway, share your thoughts. Big love, much love, everybody. And you know, make sure you click all the buttons, do the things like comment, rate, review, subscribe. You know, let me know if you prefer formats like this where it's just me talking and being fucking weird, or if, you know, I feel like a lot of times it's good to have someone to bounce off of. Doesn't always work out that way. A lot of times it is just me bullshitting and talking. But yeah, let me know. Much love. See ya.